sounds so fun, and this is how. As we have our INC radio podcast playing, we will have so much fun listening. INC Radio Podcast, we're here to hear.
Alright, hello, what's up? Walang kakain ng lunch. Oo, makikinig muna tayo ng INCRadio Podcast. Hello, everyone. Hello to all of our podcast family, and welcome to the episode 12 of our season, Turning Pages. You are tuning in only here in INC Radio Podcast, the podcast that resonates with you. I'll be one of your hosts for today. I'm Jacob, and together with me, what's up? At Angelica, good morning, good evening. Pala.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, Jan Sayo, Kuya Jaycon. We are so thankful that you are here with all of us today. So as we continue to step into this new year, there are many changes and challenges that we will face.
That's so true. But as the year unfolds, there may be new opportunities that come along the way too. Which is why in today's podcast episode we are going to be discussing welcoming new opportunities. So, what are those opportunities? Diba?
That's something we're going to find out later. But before we get started on our discussion today, we'd like to first introduce our podcast episode question for today. So for those in the live chat, please comment your answer down below. But if you're viewing our lovely episode after it is aired, please feel free to share with us your response to our question at podcast@incradio.net. So for today's podcast episode question, how do you balance excitement for new opportunities with the fear of leaving our comfort zones?
Ooh, that is a question. Sagutin na ba natin mamaya na?
Mamaya na
natin pag-usapan niya. But before we head off to our main discussion, we'd like to give our special thanks to our beloved Angelo Eranio V. Manalo, our CEBSI president and CEO. And most of all, we would love to thank our dearest executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. We love you so much. Yes, so let's go.
So we'll get started first with our first question. So what are some experiences in your life where you've experienced accepting new opportunities? I'm sure for us, a lot of those new opportunities might come in the form of duties or studies, maybe opportunities to get more involved in school or work. So for you, Kuya Jaycon, what are some experiences that you've had so far?
Let's go to school muna. So school, well, it's a whole different world from what I've been doing in INC Radio or in the duty in the church, diba? I study a different field, malayo sa what we usually do in broadcast, which is political science. But at the same time, I have a lot of extracurricular activities in school as well at the Angelica, and most recently, I'm very very grateful because I've been a part of the school's publishing, the publishing of the school, the paper, which is Hudyat, the NEU Hudyat. Ayan, hello po sa mga taga New Era University. They always watch INC Radio and INC TV, by the way. And I'm very very grateful because back when I was in elementary, I really wanted to join the publishing group of schools. Journalism, writing, broadcasting. That is one of the extra.
Did you do any of that stuff prior?
Yes, I did broadcasting and newscasting back in elementary and the early stages of high school. But when the pandemic hits, syempre nawala lahat ng yun, di ba? And then senior high school came, and now college, and we're back on course sa face-to-face classes. And I'm very grateful that I've been na naging part na ako, and I'm excited because this is a whole new opportunity because it's also different from what we do here in the radio, where di ba, we talk about our faith, we talk about inspiring others, personal development. In terms of school paper, we talk about specific topics on serious matters. That is not about faith. That is not about certain values. So it's a different world, and I love that I'm navigating through that. How about you?
I think just to bounce off of what you said, Kuya Jake, and I think what's great about getting these new opportunities in school is that for you, you've had that passion for broadcasting. There's always somehow ways where even the stuff that we do in school can still be translated into what we do in our duties,
Yeah.
which is great. Or there's skills that we will gain in our duties that we can apply to other areas of our lives. And I think I was actually in that same situation as well, where I really wanted to get more involved on campus.
Oh.
And so this was this year I started dorming. So I really wanted to be more involved in all of the campus activities. And my friends knew or would always see the graphics that I post on my social medias.
Okay.
And so, a lot of people would ask me, "Oh, do you make that stuff?" And I would tell them, "Yeah, I make that stuff." And so that's actually how my friend, who was president of one of the organizations, recruited me and asked me if I wanted to join to be a public relations chair. And so
Good.
I do the same stuff. While I make graphics for church, I also make graphics as well for school to promote our school events, our professional events. So that's one area I would say that I've experienced gaining a new opportunity, and also as a student, getting opportunities like work opportunities like through internships and stuff like that. But a really, really important one for me has always been any new opportunity I can get when it comes to being more involved in church. So, and really having opportunities to expand my experience when it comes to helping produce activities. And so it's in the little things where even if it's not your, let's just say for CFO, even if it's not your department, being asked to help out, even if it's in the tiny things like doing decoration or anything like that. I think having those opportunities to get more involved has always been something that I've always been excited about. And it's always something that I look forward to because I knew that there was always something that I'm going to learn from being involved and stepping out of my comfort zone.
That's so true. And most of the time, diba, especially in the church, yung mga opportunities that they offer us are sometimes, things that are so new, diba? It's so new because the church is just expanding in a way that we couldn't imagine. It's so fast. That's why there are a lot of things na bago in terms of technology, in terms of new activities, di ba? Panibagong mga lectures, and we as members of the church, we volunteer in helping and being part of that. That's like what we've been saying, di ba? And sometimes it really is out of our comfort zones. Like we know nothing about this, but we're gonna do it anyway because it's a sense of duty, diba? But the first thing to do, of course, is hindi naman ibig sabihin we don't know anything about it and we're just gonna do it, diba? Na parang roughly. We have to learn first on how to do it, diba? Now, how do we balance? Now comes our podcast episode question. How do we balance the excitement of new opportunities and also with the fear of leaving our comfort zones? Because for sure, this would, magbibigay siya ng doubt talaga sa atin. Like, can I do this? Like, am I fit for this? How do you do that, Ate Angelica? Of course, you being one of the, youth leaders. Yeah.
So I think, leadership is actually one of the primary examples of opportunities that we might get. It's those opportunities to lead that I feel like people will fear the most. And I think that balance really starts off with first acknowledging that you are afraid or you might be anxious or really nervous about the new opportunity. But I think for me, the mentality I've always had whenever I am given a new opportunity is to first off really face it with confidence, but not confidence in myself, more so confidence in God, that God will be the one to guide me, especially when it comes to duties or responsibilities, to be able to be a part of a certain activity or to be tasked with something that you might not be accustomed to.
Yeah.
And so really trusting in God is really important. But also being excited about the growth, knowing what you can offer now, knowing what skills you can apply now, but also being excited about that growth is really what helps you to push forward and really overcome that fear. Because you know that no matter the outcome, even if it's not what you imagined it to be, you're going to come out of this as a person who has grown and has improved in some way. What about you, Kuya?
I love that, because there are times when I'm faced with new opportunities, even in outside the church, and when I'm actually doing it, there are moments na parang like, maybe this is not for me. I'm
Mhm.
struggling so much, and parang like maybe it's better that I do other things rather than this one. Pero whenever I get to feel that, it parang late siyang pumapasok na, wow, this is actually a good learning curve for me. Na
Right.
thank God that I'm experiencing this now, because when I get to do other stuff, there are a lot of bits of pieces of learnings from that
Mhm.
opportunity that I can actually use pala dito na I didn't know that I needed. So thank God for that. Thank God for that experience. Whether tapos dun ko mas lalong na-appreciate na whatever happens or whatever I am doing, there's no strong reason para i-dislike yung or kaya for me to hate what I'm doing or
Right.
where I'm at, because there's always light at the end. And parang like, oh nga pala, ganito pala yun. So buti na lang. Lagi may buti na lang na sentence at the end. Right.
I think sometimes people have this great fear because they might experience those new opportunities might not be opportunities that they have any experience in. It might
Mm.
be completely new and completely different from anything they've ever done. And I think that it's important to not be so afraid of failing because
Mhm.
sometimes people think that, oh, if it doesn't come to me naturally, then maybe I'm not meant for it.
Right.
But it's also important that we all have strengths and weaknesses, and it's important that we not only focus on growing in our strengths, but we also focus on um, working on our weaknesses as well and really expanding our skill set. And so it's really important to not be so afraid of failing and
Mhm.
accepting that failure is a part of the process. And eventually you'll achieve success as well. And it's not always such a linear journey,
Mhm.
and it's natural to experience failures.
Pero 'di ba sobrang hirap nun for us, especially for people who are competitive, who are very conscious with their achievements, 'di ba, na, "Hala, hindi ko ito nagawa." Like, grabe. Pero 'di ba, at the end, we are very blessed to be living in this era or in a society where failure or a misstep is not perceived as a bad thing, or it doesn't end your life, diba? Rather than it is an opportunity for us to find a better path, or to realize that there are a lot of things that would much fit us better, diba? And that's from having that failure, and we're very very grateful for that. So sabi nga nila, marami nagsasabi na yung mga Gen Z, they are really specific with Gen Zs, and
Mhm.
that's us. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's, that's us.
that's the whole team
That's the
actually.
whole team. That's the whole INCRadio podcast team. INCRadio podcast is a team of Gen Zs. Well, they're really specific with Gen Zs and saying na, you know what, you guys, kapag ayaw nyo umaalis kayo agad, parang like, you have commitment issues. What are your thoughts about that? Di ba na saying Gen Zs have commitment issues daw kasi whenever they find a new opportunity, they just jump right in and left kung saan sila nanggaling. Parang like, unlike the previous generations, this is not in generalizing them, but most of them, they take great pride on, oh, I've been working in this company for 36 years, or I've been doing this for such a long time and I will never leave. But you, the young ones talaga, you guys, lipat kayo ng lipat. Parang they take like a bad light on that. What are your thoughts about that?
I think I'm gonna approach this in a career mentality
Mm,
because this is something that we've even talked about in school, right? Because of course the topic is welcoming new opportunities, and career
mhm,
wise, there's always going to be moments when you're gonna experience getting those new opportunities, right? I think that for Gen Z, the way that we approach our work and whatever we're involved in, we are more committed to improving ourselves
right.
rather than rather than being committed to a company,
Mhm,
rather than being committed to a certain organization, because we want to make sure that whatever it is we're doing, that there's some sort of benefit for us,
mhm.
because at the end of the day, work is just work. I think that's how I view it.
You're right.
I think that some other people might have this really great value
Mhm,
of work, but I think personally for me, I've grown. I'm someone who's a bit of a workaholic, if I can use that term. I'm really love to be organized, to get things done, but I've learned along the way that no work that you ever do um, goes before your well-being. And I
Mhm.
think for our generation especially, we have that mentality where it's like, I want to be ambitious, I want to accomplish this and this, but there's that boundary and there's that limit, and I have to acknowledge the areas where this is going to benefit me and the areas where if I stay here, it's no longer going to align with my goals and how I envision my own personal growth.
That's right. You know, parang there's always a mindset of I have to make sure that I have enough in my cup to, to fill other stuff, right? And
Mm,
I love what you said na parang like this is just work. 'Di ba? Well, this is not to speak about our church duties because in our church duties we love that so much we'll never leave them. But in work aspects or even in certain life aspects that we had to like step onto another level, kasi nga lagi nating binabanggit 'di ba na we have a different journey. So
mm,
once we leave that specific post, 'di ba, there are other people who's like chasing to get to the post where you left. 'Di ba? Parang laging may papalit sa'yo. So there's no
right,
reason for you to, to be anxious na, hello, what's gonna happen if I leave? Or like, no,
right.
you can be replaced. That's the
Yes,
fact.
everyone is replaceable, and I think that's one of the
Mm,
things that I have learned, where it's just like who you are as a person cannot be replaced, but who you are
mm,
in your career, you can very much be
right.
replaceable. So it's very important that you focus on your own ambitions and your own goals because those companies will always be there.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
a human being, and there's more to life than just doing work.
That's doing it. That's right. But speaking of, but in terms of, punta na tayo dun sa ating mga church duties. When it comes to, as
Mm,
members of the Church of Christ, there are specific values that, it's necessary to keep, especially when we enter new and bigger opportunities. So what are they? What are the values na, for you, Ate Angelica, we know you as someone who holds different, duties inside the church and you handle them well. What are the values, the mindset that you have inside you so that you can like carry them with a beautiful dress.
Yes, pati yung dress na damay. Yeah, Kuya Jigan, thank you for your kind words. Same to you. Same to you.
Ah, that's good.
Um, but the values that I think is really necessary to keep, first off, humility.
Mhm.
Because one of the things that I have noticed, or I think we've always been aware of, is that sometimes in our generation, and I think it also comes with living here abroad,
Mhm.
living in the States where everyone is so career oriented, we have to remember that all of the blessings that we receive come from God.
Yes.
That's really, really important to keep in mind because, and I'm speaking about this in terms of when I am getting opportunities for work or for school, because at the end of the day, everything that we have comes from God. And so it's important that as we go along our journey in this life and progress in our career and our studies, we don't forget to include God in our plans and
Mhm.
also remember Him in the blessings that we receive. So it's important to always be humble about the opportunities that you get and
Yeah.
also to always trust God along the way. We can never forget God in any of the opportunities that we gain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the duties that we have,
Mhm.
we pledged for them to receive them, right? So it's just right for us to give our best, perform
Mhm. Right.
best, and when new opportunities came, we have to make sure that those opportunities, when we enter them, they will not be hindering the duties or the responsibilities that we already have because unlike in what we've been talking about in in work aspects or in company aspects inside the church, yes, you can still be replaceable when you leave, but speaking of faith, parang that's not something that we hold on to na up, okay na ako dito, may bago ng opportunity, iwan ko na tong tungkulin na to.
Right. It's a
That
lifetime thing.
it's a lifetime responsibility and a duty. And even though we might say na this is just paperwork or my other duties when I'm an organist, or my other duty is that I perform in radio. There is no this is much more important, or this is a much more higher duty. All of the duties that we have or hold is important, so we have to perform them well, diba? So that's something that is imparted to us.
And I think the another mentality that is important to understand is that your commitment to God has greater value than any commitment you will ever have to your work or to your
Mhm.
school. Because, our commitment to work or school, that's just here. um it's not something that you can take with you. It's just for this life only.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we prioritize our duties inside the church and our commitment to God. And I think that, like, when it comes to receiving and accepting new opportunities, personally for me, in the timing of my life, balancing school with duties, I think that that blessing has always been there, where it's
Mhm.
like always experienced so many moments when I put God first and I prioritized my duties, and I was blessed in return. And those blessings even flowed through in my studies as well and in work as
Mhm.
well. And so, we have to remember our priorities, and we have to really make sure that we stick close to our Christian values in whatever aspect of life we're in.
That's true. And if we're worrying about time, because that time is such a big aspect to think about. Sabi nila, oh no, I can no longer do this because I no longer have time for this. Well, and speaking of duties, diba, and everything that we do in the church, there are a lot of brethren, they really gratefully speak about if them prioritizing their duties instead of other things. Time always aligns, 'di ba? Like
Right,
for example, even in such exam na lang, 'di ba, or a specific job interview, and it collides with a certain church duty, they then prioritizing their church duty, pero at the end of the day, nakakuha pa rin sila ng special exam. At the end, they
right.
still, yung work, your job interview na reschedule. So it always works, di ba? God always works for all of us, right? So there's no reason for us to, tanggihan or kaya wag tuparan yung mga tungkulin na ito. Di ba, Ate Angelica?
I think at the end of the day, God always provides. You'll always have what you need. And another important mentality is to remember that you'll never miss anything that God has planned for you, or you'll never miss anything that's meant for you. And so accepting or maybe even letting go of some opportunities is something that is something that we always approach with our faith in mind. And so to close off this episode, before we go into our Christian value takeaway, Kuya Jagan, what's some advice that you would give to someone who wants to welcome new opportunities but might not be too sure of where to start?
Mine is just the mindset that I have is, if it's not for you, the door will never open. So if it opened, it's for you. Just do it. Go take it. And if it doesn't work, then that's okay. It's no problem. Wala namang nawala sa'yo, di ba? More opportunities pa nga yung,
Yeah.
or more learning pa nga yung nag-gain mo from that opportunity. And if it works, then that will be the best thing na maramdaman ng isang tao. Just go for it. Yeah, that's my mindset. How about
I
you?
I think for me, I'm gonna approach this in a very practical way, right? If you're looking for those new opportunities, let's just say, and just to talk about school and work-wise, networking is really important. A lot of the
Yeah.
time, those new opportunities come with who we know, um, and it's really important to use that as a point to expand and find new opportunities. And it's also important that we can utilize technology as a way to find those new opportunities that we're looking for. Working hard gets you really far as well,
Mhm.
especially if you're a student. If your professor notices that you're working really hard in your schoolwork, and you're contributing well to the class, then you might get that research opportunity. And so when you perform your best and do your best and people recognize you for that hard work, sometimes those new opportunities just flow naturally. And
Yes.
if you're unsure where to start, sometimes it starts with what you already have. So that's something just to keep in mind for
That's
those
right.
people for new
And
opportunities.
never stop learning, 'di
Mhm.
ba? Kasi windows and doors of opportunities, as opposed to what I said earlier, that they will never open if you like deserve it. You can open them yourself, just as long as you know something, diba? Just as long as you have enough knowledge, this and this, you can work them out yourself. So make sure to always, continue to improve yourself by learning and learning and learning. So that is something that I always tell myself. Read. Read so much. Well, okay. 28 na pala.
It's
Ang bilis
time
ng
for our
podcast.
Christian value
Ang
takeaway
bilis
next.
time. All right. So for our Christian values takeaway, of course, the opportunities can be both exciting and scary because it indicates entering new chapters in our lives. However, it is scary because it requires us to adapt to small and big changes in our lives as well. And we might think of them as, disruptions to our everyday routine. Totoo yun. Naku, wala akong time para dito. Pero, diba? However, we should embrace these opportunities as they are ways for us to grow in different ways, especially as we grow up. As members of the Church of Christ, we always use our values to stay grounded and give us hope in times of uncertainty and many overwhelming challenges or changes, overwhelming changes in our lives. Diba?
Now, let's remember that through prayers and strong faith, we can still develop. During worship services, we are strengthened and we stay hopeful because we know we have help from our Lord God. As always, as we close off our episode, first off, we'd like to thank everyone for tuning into our episode today. And of course, we'd love to hear from all of you. So please reach out for any comments you have or questions you might have or any suggestions via our email at podcast@incradio.net. Because here on INC Radio Podcast,
We're
we're
here.
here.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
See
See
you
you all
next
next episode.
week. Bye-bye po.
Now,
Dun, 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 dun,
'cause I'm so
dun, dun,
falling.
dun, dun,
This
dun,
is
dun, dun, dun,
how, as we have
dun,
our INC radio podcast playing, we will have so much fun listening. INC radio podcast, we're here to hear.
Your Spotify playlist just got more exciting and inspiring because the INC Original Music is now on Spotify. Search up INC Original Music and discover songs about our faith and love, songs for our family and friends, songs full of